Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Well, I'm back out here at Giga Texas after about a week of not flying. That's because I got a chance to go out to the We Robot event, and I want to say thank you very much for Tesla for inviting me out there. Really interesting event to be a part of. Now, a few things and maybe some thoughts that I have about that event that you may not have heard, and it has to do with what's going on here at Giga Texas, or at least what we can expect. Now, first, I want to start with this image. This is the fork that was installed on the southwest side, and I showed you on my last video when this was starting up. The fork was actually used back in 2022 for the AI event, and I think that it's very appropriate that it's installed here at the southwest corner of Giga Texas, and it was also installed just before the We Robot event. And that is because the fork signifies that fork in the road, a change of the way that we've done things up to now and where we will be going into the future, specifically for Tesla. Now, about AI, we're going to start on the southwest corner where we know the Cortex supercomputer cluster is being installed. For the next year, we're going to see this continue to develop. Right now, it's almost operational. It's going to start off at about the 150 megawatt power level, but throughout 2025, that's going to increase all the way up to 500 megawatts. And that is why we are seeing the installation of this gigantic cooling plant, and all of the cooling pipes and systems and heat exchangers is to make that system possible. In addition to that, the power demands are incredible. So that's why we are seeing increases and upgrades to the electrical capabilities here, specifically up at that switch yard, preparing for a third transformer, and also all of the conduit and cables that are being run from here all the way down the length of the building to that supercomputer cluster. In addition to that, over at the west side, we're going to see more of these transformers being installed in relation to that supercomputer cluster. I counted now 72 of those large solar and solar backup transformers, and an additional 72 transformers on the west staging lot. And all of this is going to be installed for that cluster. Now, the reason why that cluster is important, and going back to that fork in the road, is that they need to do a lot of training, specifically for hardware 4 or AI 4 and the Tesla robot. So that's going to be something we'll see throughout next year. Now, speaking of the robot, it was a great event out at We Robot to see it in action. That's going to be built here sometime at Giga Texas, so we may see that work underway in 2025, and we may also see some of the robots being used here at the factory. And with the robo-taxi, again, we did see that being unveiled at the We Robot event. How that relates to Giga Texas is that it's going to be built here, and we're going to see some of the production lines and equipment installed throughout 2025 to get ready for that construction and production of the robo-taxi. Now, some people were saying, well, that robo-taxi isn't what I was expecting, and that is the case that we are going to be having another vehicle, at least one, maybe two, based on the Model 3 and Model Y platforms, and using the existing production lines here at Giga Texas. Now, some of that work has already been underway. We'll see more of that the first half of 2025. We'll see production of that new model, and that has not been unveiled yet, and it was not a part of the We Robot event as well. Now, just a couple other things that my thoughts overall is that the We Robot event was more about an overall system that would include everything from batteries to power to Cortex to the products themselves, the robots and the robo-taxis, and additional infrastructure. It would also include all of the vehicles that Tesla has, including the Tesla Semi. So I think that even though the presentation focused on just a few events or a few products, it's a much bigger idea that Tesla was trying to bring across. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts of what it's going to be relating here at Giga Texas in the coming year. And, you know, I haven't flown in a week, so I think it's great. So we get a drone in the air and let's take a look at what has been going on. There are a lot of developments and we'll be talking about that in the video. Again, thank you very much for Tesla for inviting me out to the We Robot event. So let's get flying and see what's going on here today at the factory.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. It's great to be back here flying at Giga Texas. So today we're going to see a lot of different parts of the site, starting here on the south end. Great overall look at what is going on with that tunnel section and the grade work in front of the glass. And speaking of which, we will see more of the glass starting to be installed. As I had mentioned to you previously, I'd heard that this was the week that that would happen. And that is in fact the case. Now as we fly over to the east side, just a great overall view to get us reacquainted with what is going on. At the bottom of the screen is the glass company with their workshops and equipment to get ready to start doing the installation of the glass. Of course, we see the multi-level parking garage with the privacy fence on that east side ground floor for some additional testing of new products. And all of the light poles that were on the ground in this clearing have been moved away and possibly installed. Now we see those orange and white dividers. And a great look at that privacy fence as well. Now, looking over at the old testing and calibration lot, there are a lot of Cybertrucks. Most of these are non-foundation versions because the foundation series has now come to an end, although I think that there are some being built potentially so that they can go to the customers up in Canada and some of them in Mexico that are still ordering and being able to get the foundation series. So kind of a change with what's going on with the Cybertrucks. On the ground underneath the power lines, that concrete walkway looks like hasn't really progressed much in the week since we stopped flying, although there is some riprap around the corner of the northwest side of the parking garage on the ground. In the left-hand side of the screen on the ground, more of the work on the natural gas pipeline. Most of the trenching has been completed and the pipe is being installed into that trench. Again, this is somewhat rework and upgrades of the natural gas pipeline. It is not related to the natural gas pipeline that we see being installed on the west side of the highway, and I'll show you some more of that later in the video. But as we continue to maneuver here on the east side of the cooling plant, it's a nice look at more of the clean out that is underway with some of those temporary pipes, and also on the ground, the work to do that natural gas pipeline. In the right-hand side of the screen on the second floor next to those tanks, we do see some white manifolds have been installed and pipes. And also we can see there's these 5 or so yellow and silver items that have been placed on the ground floor on the left-hand side of the screen underneath the cooling plant. And that may be related to power, or it could be some other equipment. And I'm going to reposition the drone up over the power lines, get a look between the cooling plant and the south extension. There's also a temporary platform that is being constructed. You can see the workers adding some of the planks onto the top of that platform on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. And of course, next to the cooling plant, we can see that 4 of those risers have still been installed, those pipes that kind of bend in and connect to those openings. And then the other 2 are still waiting for connections. All of the pipes have been painted that silver coating. And looks like the manifolds themselves are still waiting for final connections underneath the ground over to the extension of the building. Now, the temporary staircases that were here at this corner have been removed, so I'll use this opportunity to drop the drone down here and take a look into the second and the first floors here on the southeast side. And a great look into the south part of the second floor here with some of those ductwork and other equipment on the left-hand side of the screen. And on the ground, we see rework of some of the perimeter grade beam, possibly this ramp section. It looks like forms and additional concrete work is getting ready to be done. And in the center part of the screen, those silver and red items are part of the plate type coolers. And also there's chiller units that have been installed in that part of the factory as well. As we continue to maneuver around the southeast side, inside this glass area is where all of the Cortex supercomputer is located. And on the south end here, with all of the dirt work and the grade work, these 3 tunnels are for emergency exits of the employees. On the top level, we'll most likely see some road work, and in the middle level where that black truck is will be a walkway for the employees to be able to walk once they exit the building. Underneath the truck, those 2 large white pipes are part of the roof drainage system. And last week we saw those being installed in trench work around the tunnels, and now it looks like most of that is completed. In fact, you can see 2 more here next to this tunnel. This will drain into the cyber pond. As we wrap around the southwest corner, as I mentioned, a lot of the glass deliveries have happened. You can see those on these trailers, those crates, and in some cases the glass is very evident as the crates have been taken apart. And as I had mentioned, I had heard that the glass company was getting ready to restart the glass installation the week of the 14th, which is this week. And it looks like that has in fact come to pass. In the center of the screen, that yellow item is kind of a counterbalanced suction cup device that is used to pick up the glass and install it into the frames. And you can see the frames, those black items, have already been installed all along this section. So very soon we're going to see the west side filled in with glass, and that'll give us a good look at what this is going to look like when it is completed. And again, a great view of more of the glass on the trailers getting ready for installation. I'll bring the drone down to a lower altitude just to give you a better look at what this side of the factory looks like near the ground. Of course, all of the Cybertrucks exiting out of the factory in that opening on the right-hand side of the screen near where there's some trench work. And once they get the tunnel completed, the boring tunnel, then this will be repositioned or redone to do something else other than allowing the vehicles to come out. But there are a lot of Cybertrucks here on this side. Now I'm going to proceed to the north along the west side of General Assembly. Wanted to check on the work at the base of the flagpoles. And last time we were looking at this, they were doing these concrete footings at the base of the flagpoles. Those are completed. And now on the ground, we can see those metal caps. And that will provide the final look to the 3 flagpoles once they are installed. You can see them laying on the ground as they are getting ready to be installed. Also, looks like they are doing some grass at the base of the flagpoles. Pretty nice way to wrap up that installation. So I'll reposition the drone so that we can look at the west outbound lot, the end of line, and the warehouse on wheels, and we'll get ready to cross over the highway and resume the narration on that side. It would appear most of the horizontal drilling and natural gas installation has been completed on this side to the left bottom of the screen. There is some conduit that is related to the boring tunnel that is still visible, but all the rest of it has been filled in. I'll zoom in at the entranceway. You can tell that there is this dirt ramp. This is used to maneuver the road surface panels inside. They are actively doing that. They were basically replacing the entire road surface panels. You see some of them on the bottom right of the screen. That is because they had some issues with fracturing of the original ones. And with the number we see here on the site, you can see on the upper part of the screen, more of them laid out, that it appears that the entire tunnel's road surfaces are being replaced. Now, the natural gas pipeline is being installed here into these trenches, and it is being connected here with welding, where the horizontal drilling has made this hole. This continues all the way down underneath the south part of the facility here, or the site, underneath the Colorado River and over to another junction location. All of these concrete panels on the ground are those replacement boring tunnel road surface panels. Of course, these have all been remanufactured and retested and should avoid the fracturing issues that we saw previously. And the horizontal boring machine is being dismantled and removed off the site, as it appears that that is no longer needed for that natural gas pipeline installation. On the ground just south of River Road, more of that conduit installation is underway, most of which has had the trenches filled back in, so that indicates that that work is nearing completion. On the triangular material staging yard directly ahead, in addition to more of the steel parts, steel corrugated pipes on the bottom of the screen and steel on the top part of the screen, I did notice that these specialized transformers for solar and battery backup have multiplied even more. It appears that there are 72 of them now, so this is almost double what we saw about a week and a half ago. And there is a matching 72, which I will show you here later. So all that is most likely related to the power needs for that Cortex supercomputer cluster. The dirt area here continues to be reworked, and some of that dirt used elsewhere in the site. And I'm not sure if they're going to be constructing something there or not, but we'll continue to monitor that for any development. As we pass over the materials, the steel materials being stored here and the power lines, I noticed that there is a very large delivery of many items here at the middle of the screen. They're wrapped in kind of a silver packaging, and we'll bring the drone around. I'll bring it down lower next to these workshops, and we'll get in closer and take a look at what this is. Now, as I mentioned, with the new vehicle that's going to be built here using some of the existing product lines, or production lines, this might be related to that. It's kind of hard to tell, but it is an awful lot of new materials, most likely equipment for production, waiting for installation here. And as I maneuver around, this will be a great look at what all of the items appear like. And I will bring the drone back here and zoom in so you can get a better look at some of this. Now, it could also be related to production of the robo-taxis. I think that might be a little early right now because we're still in the last part of 2024, and at the We Robot they were talking about more like 2026, but it is possible. Sometimes it takes a long time to build out the production line. So this equipment is definitely something to watch for and give us some clues about what may be happening with either the new smaller vehicle based on the Model Y and 3 on the existing production lines, or if this is for the robo-taxi. So anyway, a neat development that has happened over the last week while I was out in California. As I come to this part of the site, notice that there's additional 72 transformers still stored here with a lot more of the spools of cable, and I'm still waiting to see where that's going to be installed. As we cross back over this north-south road, a look at the outbound lot and how active it is today. Most of the vehicles appear to be Cybertrucks. We also see the covered trailers being used again, and of course that yellow and black ramp to maneuver the Cybertrucks inside. I still do not know why they are electing to use some of these covered trailers for shipping of these vehicles, whereas they use open trailers for other shipping. But it may be because these are going to specific spots around the country or maybe into Canada. It's really hard to tell. As I continue to maneuver to the south end of the end-of-line facility, This is what the supercharger looks like today. About maybe a 1/4 busy at this time. I have been told that many of the workers are working overtime today, and I think that is to help make sure that all of these vehicles, specifically the Cybertrucks and the non-foundation version of the Cybertrucks, are ready for transport, as those may be quite popular now that the prices have dropped a lot. It's also a great look at the north part of the lot where some more of the Cybertrucks are being stored temporarily, and of course the test track in the middle of the screen. So I'm going to reposition the drone so that we can continue to fly up to the north and take a look at some of the developments just north of the end-of-line facility. One thing is apparent is most of the natural gas pipeline has been buried and all of the trenches filled in. You can see that all the way up to Tesla Road in the upper left-hand side of the screen. So I'm going to bring the drone up. We're going to cross over the highway. We'll resume on this side, and I wanted to give you a quick look at the progress here in this clearing. This has been an area that has been under development for quite some time. And right now it looks like the bulk of the work is shaping what will be stairs for these doorways. And you can tell that the work is underway right now, and hopefully we'll start seeing forms being applied to that area soon. The battery cell can recycling looks like that is still busy as they bring the last of the new lines up to 8 up to functioning status now that most of that assembly work has been completed. Don't see a tank on that new dais with those bollards. That'll be something I continue to watch. More of the work on the roof section here of the 4680 with those new ducts and some of the ducted fans. And looks like most of the assembly work is now completed on that new section of ductwork. And again, this is related to 4680 battery cell production. So it's good to see that continuing. As we wrap around to the north part of the 4680 battery cell portion of the factory, we see a delivery. Most of the ground is cleaned up. We don't see very many castings, and there is a very good reason why, and you'll be seeing that here very soon, particularly off to the left-hand upper part of the screen. I'll continue to fly the drone over to this location. It used to be a parking lot, but it has now been repaved, reconfigured, and relined, and this is going to be used for managing the castings, both Cybertruck and the Model Ys. And this is a great view of how this has been remarked. And you'll note on this part of the site, it says this is for trimmed CT, which is Cybertruck, RUB, which is the rear underbody. Also, you'll see Model Y rear underbodies, and you'll also see some front underbody, the FUB. Now this is where all of the castings have been machined after they've come out of the Giga presses, and these would be ready for going to the general assembly for making vehicles. On this side, however, you can note that it says untrimmed. Again, RUB is rear underbody, FUB would be front underbody, and these are for the castings that just come off of the Gigapress and have yet to be milled. So it looks like they're trying to get a better way of managing all of the castings here and try to prevent them from being stored all over the north, east, and most of the length of the factory. And we'll probably see these rack mounts moved over to that location once that is completed. Now, when I did do my tour in July, getting a control of all of the castings was a big issue for the people managing the casting machine structure, and I think that that is part of their new process. Speaking of which, this new steel structure that is kind of shrouding over the receiving doors and some of the other equipment here on the east side of casting is making progress. Some of the roof decking has been installed, and that center kind of valley vent for rain management is being installed as well. The baghouse filtration plant continues to have the pipes installed. 3 of them are extending through that black grate material into the casting machine structure, and it looks like additional equipment has been installed. Although we haven't seen those box-like structures being installed on the topmost part of that steel superstructure that extends above the height of the exterior wall of the casting machine structure. So that'll be something I'll continue to watch until that is completed. As I zoom in here at a lower altitude, this is a view underneath that new steel structure with those receiving doors, that steel blast wall, and the wall end caps of either side. Also, a look at the tanks and some of the other filtration systems that are connecting into the pipes on the ground floor of the baghouse filtration plant. And again, that baghouse filtration plant is to try to make sure that particulates and other hazardous material may be filtered out of the casting machine structure, making it better not only for the workers, but also for the products. As I continue to fly here back towards the old testing and calibration lot, just a quick look at more of those Cybertrucks that are being stored here and from a slightly different viewpoint. And again, these are waiting some sort of final work before they move over to the outbound lot. So I'm going to reposition over to the die shop and the battery cathode plant, and we'll take a look at what is going on over there here shortly. Looks like most of the work on the ground where Tesla Road will extend through this area is completed, and much of the equipment that we saw, the teal and white, has been moved away as well. Next to this temporary kitchen, that groundwork is where we saw electrical conduit being installed. That looks like it is all completed. That new fence around the crash test facility is also completed, and much of this area seems to be cleaned up since my previous video about a week ago. Now, most of the vehicles that are either preparing for or have had crash testing are now within this new black wall, and that smaller steel structure with that kind of lean-to covering, that is for that flying floor, which is part of the system used to do crash testing. And that roof that projects to the north is brand new, and we saw that being installed a couple weeks ago. The wade pit is completely empty, and the cell test lab looks like some of the equipment and containers have been moved away from it in the last week or so. But otherwise, generally on the east side is mostly just cleaning up this part of the battery cathode plant. Now, if you watched my video yesterday from the lithium plant, you know that it is connected from the product standpoint to this battery cathode plant. And one of the pieces of equipment or sets of equipment is here. We've talked about this before, but this is all part of the new systems that are being installed that will help increase the ability to make the cathode materials and also potentially reduce the amount of cobalt that would be used within the mixture, which is part of the long-term strategy Tesla has to improve the 4680s. The temporary platform on the left is still here being used onto that third floor. And at the chiller plant, there are new generators, or at least these box-like containers on top of the trailers that have been added since I was flying here last a week ago. And one of the two temporary chillers has been removed as well. So that may indicate that this is becoming more self-sufficient on itself without having to have the augmentation. So I'm going to bring the drone up higher. We're going to fly over to the electrical switch yard and take a look at the activity and updates over here today. Most of the new footings in the center of the screen have been poured, And it looks like there is a slab that has been poured as well that will be most likely used for another one of those V-type circuit breakers that you can see in the right-hand side of the screen. All of this is related to this concrete pad and catch basin. This is where the third transformer will be installed, very similar to what you see in the upper right-hand side of the screen. And you can also tell the footing and preparation work for that blast wall is definitely underway. It will look very similar to the one you see in the upper right-hand side of the screen when completed. On the left-hand side of the screen where that scaffolding is, I believe that they will eventually cut that open and we'll have a third of those white control rooms added there, and that'll be for that third transformer. Additional work on the ground in this section as well, and it looks like much of the equipment that we saw being stored here for the electrical switchyard expansion has been moved away as well. So that'll bring to an end this kind of update video. I hope that you enjoyed what we talked about in the intro and what we were able to see and talk about in the video. As always, thank you very much for your support. Have a great day.